Hello, everybody, and welcome back to my Lunch and Learn series. I'm Helen Panos. I am the owner of Dynamis Learning. It's a K through 12 tutoring, SAT, ACT prep company. We also do advocacy and executive function. And executive function is the thing we're actually talking about. We've been talking about it since May 21st when we began this Lunch and Learn series. We talked at first, I'm trying to remember now, way back. Let's see, Krystal. I think it was self-monitoring. Then it was about
Task initiation,
yeah, and then scheduling,
emotional control.
emotional control. And then we talked about last week about your child's personality influencing communication. And today we're going to talk about, is gaming bad for executive dysfunction and ADHD? And let Coach Krystal introduce herself again.
Hi, I'm Coach Krystal Dement. I've been an executive function coach for about 4 years now, a little bit longer. And I had worked for a company actually, I had been working in business management and HR for 15 years prior, where I was working a lot with executive function, helping employees figure out how to manage their time and whatnot. And then I have a lifelong experience of executive dysfunction. And so I bring this to the table to help parents and children to not go through what I went through. And so here we are.
Yeah, it's always easier to speak from personal experiences, right? Yep. So many parents in our audience see a confusing paradox. Their child with ADHD can focus intensely for hours on a video game. Hear this all the time. Yet they can't seem to initiate a 10-minute homework task. And from an executive function standpoint, what is happening, Krystal, in the brain that causes this discrepancy, and which specific executive skills would you say are most impacted by unregulated gaming?
Yes.
Ooh, double
and
question.
to answer the question of the prompt, the title of this is gaming bad. Sort of. It depends on how you handle it. And so that's where we're coming at this from. So it validates their experience. Okay. So it shows a deep understanding of one of the most common and frustrating challenges they face, right? So hold on one second. Let me see here. Actually, I had my notes and I scrolled off of it. Good grief. I'm sorry.
Oh, that's okay. Things happen.
Things happen. I want to make sure that I have everything in here for you. So what it does to the brain is ADHD brain is chronically understimulated. Okay. And so when you give stimulation of gaming, where they have instant gratification, it's giving them reward. There's random, boxes and things that they, loot boxes they're picking up. All of those things are training them to have their brains to have that reward system. And so they're going to turn around and look at homework, and it's a completely different situation because the reward is not instant with homework. There's not extra little things here and there, to give them reward. And so that's what's happening in the brain. And so if you can imagine letting that go, where they are playing way too many games, is going to train that underdeveloped brain into needing that instant gratification for everything. And so that is important to understand, when you're having that issue, and if it becomes so much of a problem where they aren't sleeping, they aren't eating, they're you can tell that that's when it is an issue.
Yeah.
So they're doing that instead of other things that they should be doing, going outside, playing, socializing. There is a social aspect of gaming, yes, but not, following through with anything and just gaming. That's when it's an issue. And so, we have to regulate how long we let that happen for. And so it's going to be, all of the executive functions are going to take a hit with this one, because emotionally that stimulation is being taken away, and that hits the emotional part where they have an over emotional reaction, and that is going to shut down the prefrontal cortex entirely. And so you'll see it. It's like ripping it away from them, or like ripping the carpet out from underneath them, because suddenly they're not getting that stimulation. And if they've trained their brain to be that way, then they won't be able to function without that type of stimulation. And so it's something that we see a lot with kids, and it's really regulating that and making sure that you're paying attention, that they're not not sleeping and not eating. Right.
Yeah.
And so it can be a good thing too, which, I'll let you ask the next question.
And they don't have to be gaming, of course, just being on, especially during the summer, they may be on their cell phones or computers more often. So that's something parents really need to be aware of, especially, they may be changing their schedule a little bit and staying up later, and parents are letting them do that. But, again, it's better for them to probably stop that, take an hour break before they go to sleep or so, and just read a book instead if they need to calm their mind down. But how can parents differentiate between a healthy, engaging hobby and problematic gaming that is actively harming their child's executive function development?
All right. So that's it right there. You can tell the difference when their grades are starting to suffer. When, like I said, they're not paying attention to the things they should be paying attention to. And so that's when you need to do something. And I challenge you too, if you're already seeing this issue, we understand, first of all, we're trying to work in the summertime as parents. The gaming keeps them busy, all of these things. And so it makes it easy for us just to hand it to them. But I challenge you to, if they, as a punishment somewhere, to take that game away for 2 or 3 weeks and see what happens. Because they're going to find, there's going to be whining and complaining at first, but they're going to find other things to do. Right. Give them art supplies and things like that they can work with. And so, and it can be, the gaming can be used as a reward. Here's the other side. It can be used as a reward, and it also can, it's actually good in the way that it makes them sharper. It makes them, they make mistakes, they die, they come back, and that actually creates grit and determination, which we talk about a lot here, how important that is. So there are things about it that are good. And then there's a social aspect about it that's really good too, where they actually are, ones that are not very outgoing can actually be social through the gaming. And so, I wanted to go ahead and reiterate that part, because it's important to know that it's not all bad, but you can tell when it really is, when they're just not, they can't follow through with anything else.
Yeah, it's kind of taken over.
And it does. And so we have to be careful. These brains are still developing. You don't want to get them into that instant reward or the instant gratification type of mindset, because that's going to create anxiety and depression later in life.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Might be why we're seeing so much of that nowadays, huh? So other things they could be doing, since we brought up, art supplies or art, some things that come to my mind is cooking. If they like to cook or want to learn how to cook, they can just do the simple stuff, or get an air fryer, and that's easier. That still keeps them somewhat busy learning and doing something different. And it could, it helps with math skills, right? Because you got to measure and things like that. And I think it could even help with critical thinking skills, because, hey, let's say they burn it. Now they try again. And now they got to figure out what did they do wrong the first time that they shouldn't do the second time.
Right.
And exercise. I mean, there's so many apps out there where it's not that expensive, and you could do like a 10-minute even warm-up type exercise. I want to bring that up. Stretching, playing ball, biking. What else comes to your mind? Because I know you have kids, Krystal.
Oh, yeah, I have some littles. The trampoline is a big one. We have the backyard set up. There's a zip line back there. and there is a big area of dirt that they can dig in. And mine are 6 and 9. They just turned 6 and 9, and they play in that. They love to play in that and plant things, and they have a little garden that they tend to. They go out. That we have a lot of kids in the neighborhood, and knowing that there's an eye watching on them is always a good thing. I always have my phone on me, and so I get, hey, the kids are coming over here today, and I'm like, okay, great, while I'm working. And so if you can find that network within your community, that's actually very valuable. And then of course there's always summer camps. There's always different programs and things you can take them to go do. I know that Home Depot actually has a little class. You could look it up, that they can go in and learn how to make something in the little class. And so there's just little things that are free around town that you can do. Taking them to the park for like 2 hours a day, just taking a break, not just for them, but also for yourself as a parent, is very helpful. Getting out there and seeing some green views. We have a lot of that around Atlanta. And so there's a lot of places to go that are free, that are lovely. And it gets everybody outside. We all need that vitamin D. That is also, by the way, another thing that gaming, contributes to executive function dysfunction, is that people with executive dysfunction, ADHD, are statistically low in vitamin D. Okay. So gaming inside is not necessarily the best thing for that. And so either you can take a supplement, but you still get 80% of your vitamin D from the sun. And so being outside is very important. Take them out, even if it's just for an hour or 30 minutes or something. It gets them to, where they're happy. It gets them happy, and it's going to buy you more time than you are spending taking them out there.
Yeah, sure. So we've given you guys plenty of ideas. Contact myself at info@dynamislearningacademy.com or the phone number there. You can text 770-282-9931 if you want to talk about anything related to executive function and wonder how we can help something you keep seeing over and over again. I think there's all kinds of things that I've heard. I think, like we said, task initiation is a big one. Organization. I know Krystal's even helping a young lady. I think she's rising into 9th grade, right? Helping her build up a business for the summer, a gymnastics business, right?
Yeah, she's doing a little summer camp. Yeah, and so
at her
for the
house.
kids in the neighborhood. Yeah, and so she wanted to do that, and I'm like, all right, let's go. So we're looking through all the ways to do it and organizing it. And it's teaching her time management skills. It's teaching her organization. It's teaching her to think through things, to not be impulsive, to think about what could happen and not be afraid. That grit and determination to follow through. It's actually really a super fun thing for her. So
sounds like fun. But I'm enjoying reading the notes.
Yeah.
So anyhow, this is our last of the 4 executive functioning webinars. That doesn't mean we won't be doing more. In fact, our lunch and learns, we are going to be doing a webinar at the end of June. So look out for that flyer and what date we'll do that. We'll do that for parents. We'll also do another one probably toward the end of July for parents and the children to come on. So be on the lookout on my page here for that flyer, because the one in June will be free. So definitely you want to jump on, and that's a good time to ask some questions about things that are bothering you that you keep seeing over and over again. All righty. Well, thank you, Coach Krystal, for joining me today. And everybody, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and we will see me again, at least I think next Wednesday. I am doing the lunch and learn on, let me tell you the topic as soon as I can get to it. I'm sorry, I wasn't prepared. The importance of academic planning beginning in 6th grade, actually. And then on the 25th, I'll talk about how to raise resilient kids and help them thrive. So, and then July has some more interesting topics like AI and college essay writing. So we'll be sending that flyer out soon. But you could check us out every Wednesday at 12 noon right here. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day. Bye for now.